Hi everyone. If you're new here, my name is Lydia, and I have had adrenal fatigue almost my entire life. And it's definitely gotten better over the years. I was in toxic mold. I talk about this often on my channel. But I was in toxic mold for about 4 to 5 years. Starting somewhere, I think in 2017, maybe 2018. But anyway, that severely affected my adrenals. Even though I had grown up with adrenal fatigue. And I mean, at that point, it just completely tanked them. I did a cortisol test maybe a year into having mold toxicity because I just was so fatigued. I mean, a big symptom of mold toxicity is fatigue, but it was just impossible, and I really do mean impossible, for me to wake up before 2 p.m. and then at my worst, it was almost impossible for me to wake up before 6 p.m. at night. So it was kind of crazy. And by impossible, I really just mean like it felt like it took everything out of me to get myself up, and it was so much more than willpower. It was physical. My body felt heavy. It felt like it took everything out of me, and there was no amount of me forcing myself for like a week straight or whatever. There was no amount of forcing myself for days straight to realign it. There just wasn't. It was just a continual, this felt unhealthy for me. And even when I would force myself, I forced myself often to fight against that. It felt so wrong for my body, and the entire day, it wasn't just like I was a little sleepy all day. It felt like I wasn't a person, like I was a zombie. And like, you know, when you are so exhausted that it's like hard to breathe, and you feel like you can't even get up from like your seat without like being out of breath, and just, I mean, it was like that all day, and it was rough. It was really just this impossible task. And so I went to get my cortisol tested. Thankfully, I was so lucky to have a doctor at the time who was trying to help me through healing through toxic mold. And she was willing to like learn about this as well, which not a whole lot of doctors are able to do that or want to do that. And so that was great that she was able to do this cortisol test for me. And she didn't, fight me on it. It might have even been her idea, but anyway, so I did this cortisol test, which is like, it's a saliva test, and I had to wake up periodically, like I think it was like every 4 hours I had to do it. And so like there were times during my sleep when I would wake up and do this. And when we submitted it back to her, she was shocked by the results because my cortisol levels were the complete opposite to a normal human being's. Like my rise and fall of my cortisol and my rise and fall of my body's like rhythm was completely opposite to a normal person's. So like my cortisol was only peaking just a tad bit at night, and then during waking hours of the day it plummeted. It was pretty bad. But yeah, so that's a little bit about my background with adrenal fatigue, and it affected all of me, especially at my worst. Like, my adrenals hurt, like physically hurt. Some people have never heard of that, but it was so clearly my adrenals. It was like my lower back in the exact area of where my adrenals were. And I've never had back pain in my life. So it was like, it wasn't like a back issue. And I didn't dare drink coffee, because if I drank coffee, they were in such bad pain. And I felt fatigued all day long, like a physical drain, to where like I mean, a big part of this was the mold, of course, the toxic mold, but it just was like this all-encompassing struggle. What else do I want to say? But now I've healed quite a bit. I mean, I've healed drastically from toxic mold, and so my body has been able to also heal from adrenal fatigue at the same time. And it is like night and day, like truly like night and day. I'm able to do things now that I wasn't even able to do growing up for me. And waking up earlier is a lot easier for me. It doesn't feel like this battle or this struggle to get up out of bed, which is new for me. I never experienced that. Like, throughout my childhood, I was like, that's just normal, right? Like, I didn't even think to tell anybody about it, because I just thought that that's how it was for everybody waking up. It's like, you guys are all exhausted. And I thought that that was like, well, some people are morning people, some people are like night owls, right? Because like my sibling could just pop right out of bed, and like I was like, she just must be a morning person. But I just had adrenal fatigue, you know? And I think for a lot of people, that's the case. Like, a lot of people who think they're night owls, it's like, really, you just have adrenal fatigue. And that really your cortisol is just off. Because, at least that's what my experience was, is I really thought for the longest time that I was just this, like, night owl. I loved the nighttime. I stay up at night, and that's when I can create the most and think the most. And mornings are just difficult for me. That's, like, what I had in my head. But even though my heart wanted so badly to like wake up in the morning hours, and because I love that fresh air and sunrises, but that's just what I thought at the time. And come to find out, I can be a morning person. Yeah, I still occasionally have difficulties with my adrenals, especially if I've not been taking ashwagandha or any sort of adrenal vitamin for a while, and I've gone through some stress. I definitely experience it, and it's a little bit harder for me to wake up then, but on average, I'm able to just pop out of bed, and I'm like, wow, the day is young, and it's pretty great. And throughout the day, I definitely feel like my energy level is more manageable and like almost like tangible. Like, I feel like I'm able to work with it and build it up a little bit. And more days than not, I'm able to do stuff around the house and like even, you know, have a full day's work of like full cleaning or physical labor, and I'm good, and I'm good the next day too, which is awesome. And I also notice with myself that I am able to wind down at night. Like, as the sun is setting, I'm able to wind down a lot more and shut my brain off a little bit, which did not happen before. And nighttime was like, I felt like the time when I started to become awake, you know, and think the best. Can you guys hear that plane? Oh my gosh, that is so loud for me. But a lot of the times when like YouTubers say that there's a plane going by, I never hear it. I'm like, what are you hearing? I don't hear it. So maybe you guys couldn't hear that, but it was very loud to me. Anyway. So that's changed a lot, all of that. I'm able to do a little bit more every day, and I feel like pushing myself isn't a risk. Like, I used to push myself and then feel it and regret it the next day. And I don't feel that way anymore. I feel like if I push myself just a little bit, I can recover easily, and that the next day I'll have even more energy, or at least be able to do what I did that day and push just a little further, which is pretty cool. Yeah, I think that's kind of about it. There might be more. There's probably a lot more signs that I've healed from adrenal fatigue, but those are the things that I can think of on the top of my head. Yeah, I can drink coffee now, which is like, what? For the longest time, it was like, I don't dare, because my adrenals hurt, and at the very least, they felt a little achy, and it's like, ooh, not very good. But now I can drink coffee, and I feel perfectly fine. I do, however, feel a lot more cautious about things than I was before. Like, I'm just a little bit more wise when it comes to taking care of my body. I used to be that person who would also drink coffee at midnight and not think anything of it. Which, I mean, some people might be like, well, that's why you had cortisol, like bad cortisol levels and adrenal fatigue your whole life. But it's like, well, I had adrenal fatigue before that, and I think it just felt natural to me to drink it later in the day, because I was waking up later and I was drinking coffee later, you know? I mean, when you wake up at 2 p.m., you know, and you want coffee, I mean, you got to drink it after 2 p.m. then, you know? And it's like, after a while, I definitely think that made it worse, but I don't think that's what started my adrenal fatigue by any means. Especially since I was experiencing signs of adrenal fatigue in childhood. I just didn't know what that was until my adulthood. Now I'm able to recognize those signs. But, yeah. I'm able to drink coffee now. I'm able to push myself. I'm able to, I don't know, do things, live life. I can't think of any more. But, yeah, I hope that gives you a little bit of hope if you are going through adrenal fatigue, because adrenal fatigue sucks. It's not fun. And, yeah, just take care of yourself a little bit more. Ashwagandha helps a lot. There's a lot of things that help with adrenal fatigue, and I do feel like if I take them consistently, I can feel myself getting even better. So, you know, just taking care of myself a little bit and getting out of toxic mold. And also healing my nervous system, because I think a lot of the root cause of my adrenal fatigue, or a big part of the root cause of my adrenal fatigue, was hypervigilance and fears, fight or flight, just being active, you know, and my nervous system just not being regulated. And so working on that has helped a great deal too. But yeah. Have a good day, everyone.